Okay, today I'm going to state the obvious. But to be honest with you, it may be very unpopular because we've been pretty much always told that we have to be part of friends and alliances all across the world to keep us safe. We have friends across the world we have to take care of. But I'm going to be honest with you. It seems like we're always the one having to give. And then I come back to realize, are these alliances really worth what we're doing and what we're dealing with? Now, not all alliances are bad. Not all friendships are bad. But I think it needs to be given both ways. Today, let's talk about something that may be unpopular, but is completely true. And I want your opinion on it. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up. There's a lot of people that watch our channel that are not subscribed, so we ask you humbly to subscribe to the channel so you can always be up to date with what goes on. Also, follow me on X or Twitter. We are giving away hundreds of dollars worth of a giveaway this end of this month, and it's for everyone who is subscribing to here and then also moving over and subscribing over there. A lot of times we're sharing kind of real-time stories all the time on Twitter, so it helps you keep up to date with things going on. If you're not on X, that's okay. Keep watching on here and we'll keep putting out hopefully good information that helps you and your family. Now let's talk about today. This is something that's very unpopular, and we've been actually told that it's so good and we've got to stay a part of it. But truthfully, is it really worth what it actually does for us? Is it an asset or liability? That's kind of what you have to ask yourself. So NATO, in a lot of other treaties, we always tend to say these alliances, these friends of ours, these trade agreement partners really help us out. We're supposed to help them, they help us, and we make the world go around to be safer. So for 75 years, we've been in wars and we keep using the same excuse. Well, since this bad country is not part of our agreement that's given us tons of billions of dollars, we should make sure that if they are going against one of our NATO allies, that we're supposed to put ourselves into it. We're supposed to make sure that we are front and center and that we are giving more money, giving more militarization, and making sure we're sending our troops over there to defend our friends. They're our best key allies. That's what we hear all the time from our politicians. This is our best allies. That comes across with trade partners, that comes across with allies with NATO, that comes across with with all these other partnerships in the Pacific and so forth. I want to ask you one question, and it's a very easy one to answer. And Trump kind of brought this up, and I thought it was good. He kind of still shied away with it. He still kind of shied away once it became unpopular with politicians and the Uniparty. But what really has our allies done for us? Don't just stop and think now. Don't say, well, they've been good partners. That's what the narrative is. But what have they done for us? Think of all the billions, actually trillions of dollars we've invested in our allies in other parts of the world and quote unquote for peace. Think of the trillions of dollars we've invested in the Middle East to not really have anything other than the same powder keg we've had there for years. Think of the billions of dollars we're investing now in Ukraine that actually not even part of NATO yet, which they're going to end up doing, which is ultimately going to make for more nuclear threats. But we're putting billions over there for really probably nothing to take place other than a treaty one day once everybody has killed hundreds of thousands of people. Poland now is saying they want to house our nukes there since they're part of NATO, and they want to make sure that they're standing against Russia. So we've had 75 years of NATO, which is supposed to bring peace across the world to show that we're like the big brother that's supposed to help. All the while, what it seems like is no one's really helping America. America is not getting money. America is not getting support. We're not having troops come here and all this intel come here. It seems like we're the ones pushing out all this stuff. We're the ones spending the money. We're the ones fulfilling the contracts for defense. We're the ones putting troops in stations and making sure they understand how to work the machines and all this defense spending. It seems like, we're the friend of everybody. But who's the friend of us when it really comes down to it? Do we have to really buy our friends? My parents always said that if we have true friends, then we're friends no matter what the situation may be. I shouldn't have to buy my friends. I shouldn't have to do everything for them. If this is one-sided, meaning I'm always the one inviting my friends over when I was a kid to play, then I never get to go to their house. Is that really friendship? Or is it just, you know, kind of a relationship that just kind of benefits the other party? It's kind of like marriage. Marriage is not 50-50, it's 100-100, meaning as spouses, we have to work together to build the best marriage possible for our children and live in this crazy world. We have to give everything to it. If you have one partner of a marriage giving their all and the other partner not caring too much, it's going to be a failed marriage. Now let's talk about it with NATO. If we keep giving, and Trump did at least make some of these people pay more, but if we keep being the ones to fund NATO, we keep being the ones to actually, you know, kind of push the narrative that we have alliances and parties, it seems like we're the only ones putting forth effort. Maybe us, maybe UK, but ultimately everybody seems to be taking advantage of NATO. And if NATO's really taking advantage of the whole world because they're allowing, you know, America to be the bully, to whereas we have to put ourselves all across the world to make, you know, policy. Well, you know, a lot of times Western policies with all this, you know, new liberal woke ideology, is that really what we want to profess across the world? Is that really what Russia or Middle East wants? No, really, America doesn't even want that. Just the politicians do. So really, who is actually winning? Is really a NATO a good thing? Now that's where people are like, oh, it's a good thing, it keeps us safe. How does it actually keep us safe? I mean, I really want to know that answer. I may just be dumb. I may just be a dumb redneck from South Mississippi. But I don't really understand how we consider NATO to be good for us other than really spending way too much money, allowing our defense contractors to just blow money like crazy to ultimately call, you know, people our friends. And really what we're doing is we're just providing arms for them. And we are pretty much just making sure war just keeps on going for 75 years. Has there ever really been a peacetime? I mean, truly, has there ever really been peace across the world? No. And no group of people and no amount of money is probably going to provide that. For instance, in Niger, in Africa, we have a base there. Spent billions there. Guess what? Niger doesn't like what we're doing. So therefore, they're allowing Russia to come in. And all of a sudden now, Biden, like a little whip puppy, he's taking our troops out, taking everything from our Air Force Base, and pretty much moving from there. That's where a lot of our intelligence come from, that part of the world in Africa and Middle East. Well, we spent billions of dollars there to waste to give to someone else. That's what happened in Afghanistan with Bagram. That's what's happened with our stuff. So we spend tons of money for our friends to then ultimately not get a good outcome. And then all of a sudden, then we want to spend more money to go somewhere else and do the same thing. It is truly like a sick cycle carousel that you can't get off. And it seems like the only thing that the only people that's actually winning and actually enjoying NATO is the people who don't have money invested in it, or some of the contractors that are giving all the goods to NATO with all the billions being spent. It seems like the taxpayers of America really are not getting any benefit from NATO or a lot of the other trade partners. I think of the trade with Canada and Mexico. Not that I'm against it, but do you realize a lot of times that quote-unquote free trade coming from these places close to us actually may be hurting our jobs here in America. People dogged out Trump for doing the higher tariffs on China. But when it really comes down to it, the cheap goods that we get from China is actually costing jobs here in America. And so therefore I go back and say this. I'm not saying trade alliances are not bad. I'm not saying being a big brother and having friends across the world is not bad. But when it really comes down to it, does it benefit America? Does it benefit the regular taxpayer? Does it benefit the regular taxpayer to see people go to war? Does it benefit the taxpayer when we're doing free trade with Mexico and Canada and China, and ultimately that's costing jobs because you're seeing more factories being built in Mexico than being built in manufacturing hubs across America? So my thought today is this. We've had 75 years of NATO. We've had, what, 30 or 40 years of all these free trade agreements. When it comes down to it, America and its taxpayers tends to be the ones that's having to buy its buddies, and actually the ones that seems like it's getting screwed over more and more. I may be wrong, and it may be very unpopular to say, but I believe we've baked into this narrative that we have to have friends across the world and they're coming to our rescue if something ever happens. When have we ever seen any country, including our best allies, ever come to our defense? Did UK send people to our border that I don't know about? Did Mossad or IDF send anybody to, Texas to make sure our border's safe? Did we have Ukrainian soldiers here, helping us with our drug problems in our cities? Now, I say that in a very facetious way, but I am saying that in a way that makes sense. Sometimes our friends really may not be our friends. They're just taking advantage of us and our tax bases. And our politicians are sellouts, and they're allowing it to happen because they're probably getting kickbacks too. $100 billion goes out last week, or really this week, to quote-unquote our allies and our friends. I've never seen a package from any of our allies coming back to us though. And I've never seen us actually get loans and make money off these. It just seems like big contractors make money off these, and the taxpayers are always the ones holding the bag of debt. That's got to be paid for some way. Well, overtax the billionaires and millionaires. If you took every dollar and every cent from every billionaire in America, you wouldn't even pay for a third of a year's worth of debt. When we're spending trillions, every 100 days we're spending $1 trillion. Our deficit pretty much is, about $3 or $4 trillion a year that we're going to end up spending, basically. And our deficit is going over and over and over and beyond. And the billionaires, if you take all their money, it still wouldn't pay for it. So when you hear politicians say, we'll just tax more, what they're saying is they're actually going to tax you. Because remember, 350 million people in America, roughly, the more and more they take from you, the less and less you have independence, and the more they can use the same old talking points of, well, they're our allies, they're keeping us safe, and we have to do this. I'm just having problems believing it. So it may be unpopular, but the whole point is this. Why don't we renegotiate all our trade partners? Why don't we renegotiate all our alliances? Why don't we renegotiate all our friends? Now, in a normal situation where we had leadership that actually cared for Americans, they would do this probably periodically and say, let's just renegotiate a little bit, like a true good business deal. But we don't have good leaders because most of them have no backbone and are sellouts anyway, and they're making money off the machine. But as taxpayers, we have to say, is enough enough? And we may need to quit electing the same folks that we're electing. And it may be time for us to really make changes. It's my thoughts. I think Trump started that. I think Trump got a little uneasy about it because so much of the uniparty and the establishment pushed against him. The question is, if he wins again, and also if we see leaders like, the Viveks, even the Tulsi Gabbards, the RFKs, whatever it may be, on both sides, are they really going to stand up against this and really negotiate our trade partners and our allies? Because it seems like this is a one-sided marriage, and we're the ones giving in and losing. Let me know your thoughts. God bless. Happy homestead, y'all.